Every time she speaks, she gets less likable. There's some clip of her on the internet in her Snow White outfit saying, "Every hour I am in the outfit of Snow White wearing the dress. All 18 hours, I deserve to be paid for every single one." Oh, really? Are you having trouble paying your bills, Rachel?
In a shocking turn of events, Disney has reportedly shelved its highly anticipated live-action remake of Snow White, quietly removing the project from all marketing efforts and internal release calendars. Despite nearly 2 years of hype, there was no trailer, no promotional push, no premiere date confirmation, and not even a single tweet from the studio. The silence surrounding the release became deafening when fans noticed the planned debut had come and gone without a trace. Industry insiders now confirm what many had suspected. Disney has opted not to release the film at all, a move attributed largely to ongoing controversies surrounding lead actress Rachel Zegler. While Disney has not officially labeled this a cancellation, internal documents allegedly list the release as indefinitely on hold pending talent resolution, a veiled reference to the public relations storm brewing around Zegler.
After the Snow White thing, I'm gonna be honest, I will be shocked if she gets cast in almost anything.
This strategic silence from Disney reflects growing internal concerns that moving forward with the film, while Zegler remains embroiled in negative press, could damage the brand's already precarious public image. Rachel Zegler's fall from grace has been swift and spectacular, with her public image eroding under the weight of repeated controversies, PR missteps, and fan backlash. Once lauded as a fresh face in Hollywood and championed as Steven Spielberg's breakout star, Zegler has now become synonymous with divisiveness. Her behavior during interviews for Snow White sparked widespread criticism, as she mocked elements of the original 1937 film, dismissing the prince as a stalker and the plot as dated and weird.
What is it like for you now having all of this? I think it's a lot of pressure, right?
It's definitely a lot of pressure, but I surround myself with very good people who keep me grounded and try to just stay as true to myself as I possibly can.
Her sarcastic tone, perceived arrogance, and tone-deaf commentary were captured in viral clips that painted her as out of touch with the fan base she was meant to win over. Even supporters from earlier in her career began to distance themselves, citing a growing sense of entitlement and a lack of humility. Red carpet moments that once showcased elegance were instead cited as examples of coldness or superiority, further damaging her reputation and cementing her status as one of Disney's most controversial casting choices in recent memory. Zegler's theatrical debut in the West End production of Evita, initially seen as a career reset, only deepened concerns, as reports of on-set chaos emerged within weeks of rehearsals. Insiders from the production described the backstage environment as hostile and unmanageable. Allegations included Zegler shouting at lighting operators, refusing to rehearse scenes that didn't meet her creative vision, and clashing regularly with senior production staff.
2.3 million dislikes. Imagine having that much of a dedicated hater base. That's insane.
These claims were bolstered by leaked rehearsal notes and anonymous testimonials from cast and crew. One internal email even went so far as to label her presence unsustainable. Rather than showcasing her range and resilience as an actress, the Evita experience amplified fears that Zegler was uncoachable and difficult to work with. What was meant to be a redemptive turn instead became another PR nightmare, this time playing out live on London's most respected stages. Without the safety net of a Disney PR team to soften the blow or redirect the narrative, the origins of the controversy can be traced back to Rachel Zegler's outspoken remarks during press tours for Snow White, where she repeatedly criticized the original film's storyline and themes. Instead of honoring the 1937 animated classic, Zegler distanced herself from its legacy, calling the prince creepy, the romance irrelevant, and the story outdated.
And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay. Maybe that's a weird takeaway. Regardless, this is not supposed to be anything other than insightful.
Her declaration that the film was being rewritten to reflect modern values triggered a wave of online backlash. Longtime Disney fans, already wary of remakes, were outraged that an iconic fairy tale was being so openly disrespected by its new lead. These interviews not only alienated audiences, but also sparked debates about whether Zegler was suited for such a culturally significant role. The situation intensified when social media amplified her statements, fueling a perception that she had little respect for the property or the viewers. This public disconnect between actress and audience proved to be the beginning of what would become a prolonged and increasingly damaging fallout. Behind closed doors, Disney executives began panicking as the negative headlines refused to die down, ultimately triggering internal reassessments of the film's viability.
Fans are growing more concerned about Disney's new Snow White remake, mostly because of what the lead actress has been saying to the press. Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney's. We've heard her bag the classic story before, But there's more.
Sources close to the studio confirmed that emergency meetings were held shortly after the Evita crisis reached the press, where leadership weighed the risks of moving forward with Snow White in its current form. With every new Zegler controversy, fears grew that the film's release would be overshadowed by public discontent. Internal communications reportedly labeled the situation unsalvageable, and marketing departments were directed to shift focus to less volatile projects. Disney, already navigating political controversies and financial downturns, viewed this film as a potential bomb, one that could do irreparable harm to their reputation if released amidst such toxic public sentiment. What once was meant to be a flagship streaming release became a liability too risky to promote, let alone release. Thus, the decision was made: let it disappear quietly.
Snow White star Rachel Zegler is entering the chat, telling Allure she struggles to meet supportive women in Hollywood. Quote, "All I'm ever really looking for in this business is a sister, and they're not always easy to find. I really do believe in championing your co-workers, whether you're close with them or not."
Zegler's association with volatility has reportedly caused an industry-wide retreat, with casting directors and studios reevaluating any future collaborations. Sources claim her name has been quietly removed from shortlists for major roles and brand partnerships that once seemed inevitable. Fragrance campaigns, magazine covers, fashion collaborations have vanished. Streaming platforms allegedly pulled her from consideration for a leading role, and other projects she was attached to are now on hold indefinitely. The industry, always wary of public perception, has seemingly lost confidence in her ability to represent a project without controversy. Insiders describe a growing consensus that she is no longer a bankable name, not just because of internet vitriol, but due to a pattern of behavior that has proven damaging to those who align with her. In an era where celebrities are expected to embody professionalism and marketability, Zegler's unpredictability has rendered her, for many, untouchable.
Rachel Zegler, thanks for coming on my show. I sold out years ago and I'm a coward. So you recently starred in the movie Snow White. Tell me, what was it like to play Snow Latina?
First of all, Steven, it was weird. But I did enjoy reimagining the character as a woke Colombian woman who looks like a fish.
Disney's decision to go silent on Snow White, refusing to confirm, deny, or clarify its status, has become a strategy in itself, signaling retreat rather than confrontation. The studio has offered no press releases, no social media updates, and no interviews since the backlash intensified. Marketing plans have been scrapped. Internally, staff were reportedly instructed not to comment on the film and to pivot attention toward other projects. This level of avoidance is rare for a company that traditionally thrives on spectacle and promotion, especially for legacy titles like Snow White. The vacuum of information has only fueled speculation, with fans across TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter connecting the dots and declaring the project canceled. One internal source likened the approach to a containment strategy, a way to minimize further damage by starving the conversation of oxygen. But the absence of clarity has done little to prevent scrutiny. If anything, it has made Disney's reluctance to stand by the film all the more glaring. Online reactions have been swift and divided, with many viewers celebrating Disney's decision to pull the film, while others accuse the studio of capitulating to online outrage. Supporters of the cancellation argued that Zegler's disrespect for the material, difficult reputation, and ongoing controversies made her unfit to lead any major franchise. Others blamed Disney for casting her in the first place without properly vetting her media presence and temperament. A smaller faction of fans defended Zegler, criticizing the studio for failing to support her through backlash and accusing them of throwing her under the bus. Regardless of perspective, one fact is clear: the film's silent demise hasn't gone unnoticed. Memes, viral tweets, and YouTube commentaries mockingly refer to the film as being in PR jail, with one user writing, "Sebabidi, this aged like milk. Where's the movie? Oh right, buried under damage control." The internet may be divided in opinion, but it is united in awareness. Disney didn't forget, they folded. Leaked internal memos reveal that the fallout from Snow White is influencing broader changes at Disney, including future talent contracts and risk assessments.
I get stopper photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Wait, how often are you in line for the Snow White ride?
I'm a narcissist.
One marketing manager allegedly described the entire situation as unsalvageable, advising that all resources be redirected toward less controversial content. Another memo suggested that Disney would be adding stricter conduct clauses into upcoming contracts to protect against similar reputational crises. These steps indicate that Zegler's actions have not only impacted her own career, but also forced a systemic shift within one of Hollywood's most powerful studios. Executives reportedly fear that further associations with her could reignite the backlash and damage other projects by proxy. The studio's primary concern now appears to be brand protection, and if that means shelving an entire multi-million-dollar film, they seem willing to do so. This internal recalibration signals a new era of risk aversion, where even completed projects are not safe from cancellation if the lead becomes a liability. Rachel Zegler's future in Hollywood now hangs in the balance, with the industry and audience alike watching to see if she can course correct or if this marks the end of her mainstream career. With no apology issued, no accountability taken, and no significant effort to repair her public image, Zegler faces an uphill battle. Comebacks in Hollywood are possible. Many stars have rebounded from worse, but they require time, humility, and a willingness to change. Thus far, Zegler has offered cryptic posts, lawsuits, and defiance rather than introspection. Meanwhile, studios are reportedly shifting toward quieter, less polarizing talent, making her path back even narrower. If she fails to adapt, the industry may simply move on, allowing her to fade from relevance. The silence surrounding her, once filled with opportunity, now echoes with finality. Once hailed as Hollywood's next big thing, Rachel Zegler has become a cautionary tale, an example of how quickly public favor can turn, and how even fairy tale careers can come crashing down when the real-world story gets too messy to sell.